Hey, my name's Puke, also known as SPB or Steam Pepto-Bismol, and I've developed a new cylinder for the Ultra 2 to allow it to take mega darts. So here's how to assemble it, and let's get into it. So first of all, you're gonna want to take apart your blaster. So I would recommend to take a little box like that in which to put your screws. There are two different sizes of screws in this blaster. There are the long ones, here, here, and the shorter ones, like this one. There's only two long ones, and these two screws goes in this hole here at the top, and this hole here at the back and at the top as well. So there are pretty easy to remember. Overall, this isn't a really hard to disassemble blaster. It's pretty basic, so I doubt you're gonna have any issues. Next, you will want to, well, we can actually take out this battery cover here. Just forget to do that. There we go. Okay. So next, you're gonna want to open this shell. Nothing falls out. It's as easy as ever to get inside. You may want to make a full rewire, but we're not gonna do this today. It's a pretty basic rewire overall, kinda like a strife-through rewire. So I'm sure you can find plenty of videos explaining that already. I can still show you. Okay, so see, that's the full rewire. Like, there's just a switch, the flywheel cage, and an XT60. That's it. I can still show you this. So this is how you want to rewire them, the motors. So that's the front, the dart goes in like that. So you have a little visual help to make sure that your motors are rewired correctly, and the dart won't, the flywheels won't turn backwards. Okay. So yeah, very simple, recommended 16 gauge wire. Some prefer 18 gauge wire, but I think 16 is enough. These switch are really important. They are very clicky, like very sensitive. When you rev it, you know you rev it. Like there is no slack, and they can withstand a way higher voltage than your regular Nerf switch, like in this blaster. Anyway, now that I've showed that, we can get back to the actual mod itself, the actual kit actually. You may want to take your blaster and remove the Ultra Dart block. Like, pretty much everything back here is gonna go, this whole white part, except for the part that holds this in place, this axis, and this will stay as well. Everything else in this area is gonna go. This is because of the extended pusher. This thing takes a lot of space, and the Mega Darts does as well, so that's So I'm gonna unscrew all that. So I will show you every tool that I use for that. I will not make the mod right now because I've already done it on this blaster here. This is an empty shell, just here to show you what I've done, what it should look like in the end. So I may want to keep this one stock. Anyway, you won't need that anymore. You won't need this pusher. It's good, but it's not useful anymore. So we'll put that aside. You can remove trigger. There we go. Be careful not to lose the little springs like this one. Very important. Remember the orientation as well. The taper goes out towards the switch. Okay. If you don't leave the spring on the trigger, you can take it and put it with your screws. This will make sure that you won't lose it. It's actually really practical. Same for the screws from this spring here. You won't actually need to remove the whole indexing system. This can stay in, even during the mod. You may want to remove entirely the spring because it's pretty easy to put back in, but the actual indexing mechanism, no need to. So we'll do that. Okay. And as you can see, I can just move that with my finger. We can now remove the barrel, the cylinder, sorry. There we go. You will want to keep that axis really carefully, really close. Like we will use this as the cylinder axis. This, however, this is trash. Okay, so that's the Ultra lock. That's the thing that prevents you from using something other than an Ultra dart, and that's trash. The spring you can keep. Always interesting to have a spring around. I really encourage you to keep any spring that you get from dismantling a Nerf blaster. This you can remove as well. We won't need this plate anymore. You can remove this trigger lock. I actually like to keep this trigger lock because it's pretty good to be sure to not feed a dart before you revved the motors, because these motors will just won't be able to fire dart that's already engaged in the cage. Right? So keep that. That might be interesting. Same as before, the spring in the screw box, and to make sure that you won't lose it. Next, there's this little part here. This, with the original configuration, it's to prevent the dart going in the flywheels without firing, essentially. You can remove that as well. We won't need it anymore. So usually to remove that, you just unscrew the cage. If you don't want to do a full rewire, just keep the cage as is. You may split the cage a little bit like that and remove that. We need to take that switch out. Okay. You can set that aside for a little. And you will want to remove very carefully the handle here. So there are, from what I've... Oh, never mind, not on this one. On this one, for some reason, I had 2 points of solvent weld, here and here. I have no idea why, but I had quite a lot of troubles to take this handle part out. So you may or may not have your handle glued to the frame. Just pry it off very carefully. The solvent will break, will cleanly break, so if you do it gently, so it shouldn't be a problem. In the worst case scenario, you won't need this anymore. We will cut it out entirely. Here I'm just gonna take my other shell so I can make a comparison. You can see the difference, like there's nothing left on there, and I've carved it out as well. I removed everything in there because I'm gonna repaint that, so that's why there's no mechanisms. You can keep that for the entirety of the mod because you can just do that and cut away, so that's not an issue. If you're dremeling, you may want to remove it, but otherwise you can do it with clippers or even with a box knife, so you shouldn't have any issues. So you can take your handle, set it into frame, and put a mark, put a little mark just here, like that. You will want to cut all this black plastic, like on this whole length, so you can align your box cutter, your box knife with that frame here, and just trace a straight line. Once you did that, you can remove the handle. How deep did I go? I just took my box cutter again. Really great to mark straight lines, in my opinion. Just make it slide on this edge and make a mark here. So you may be able to see that, but you will take out all of this on the whole length that you marked. That's about 5 millimeters deep, I would guess. Fairly easy. You won't have any issues, I'm sure of it. Once you've done that, sorry, you can put it aside again. You can take your other half, take it out gently in case there's solvent well as well, but I doubt there will be. There. And just make a cut along this side here. You just go straight all the way, and all the way in this way as well. You can just remove everything like here. That will allow the pusher to go back far enough to be set in place, and to allow the darts to rotate, because these are long boys. Once you've done that, keep that actually, you can keep it, set it back into the frame. Oh my god, okay. And you may want to do the same thing on the frame. So just go and follow this side of the handle. Just remove everything to the lowest part. So that means taking this and removing all of that, all gone. Once you've done that, so on the front as well, once you've done that, you can make sure that everything is lined up. Once you've done that, you can just remove, where's my, okay. You can just remove all of, can you see that? I think you can. You may just remove everything here, make a straight line like that, and same goes that way. So in the end, you will have something that looks like that. So you see, I just went on the bottom of this here to be sure that the axis will still be able to set in there correctly and not poke out. And then remove everything in a straight line, and then remove everything in a straight line along this sling point. You won't be able to use the sling point anymore, but I mean, there's a second one there, so that's not the biggest deal. Once you've cut everything, it will be pretty much set. Oh yeah, sorry, one last thing. You will do the same thing on this side and end up with a piece like that. Okay? So it has the same shape as the one on the other side. So you can just cut it out grossly, like leave a big part of that and screw it in place here, and just make the finishing touches, and you should be fine. I also removed the dart logos because they were kinda rubbing against the darts, because the darts are going to rub on this piece anyway, so I wanted to have the slimmest thing possible. So I removed that, and you could use epoxy putty to fill that out, or anything that you want, because I must admit it, that's ugly, and I will epoxy it myself. So yeah, and now the kit is pretty much a drop-in once you've done that. So yeah, I guess if it's after you've done that, it's not a drop-in, but you get my point. There you go. You will need your handle parts. Where's mine? There it is. So you can put back your handle in there. Just align everything. Okay. Then you can take your pusher. I just take this handle too, as an example. You can take your pusher. You can take one of the spring screws, the spring that comes here, and you will want to take it, put it in this hole and screw it gently, a little bit at a time. I like to do like a quarter of a turn and then come back, and then a half a turn and then come back. I mean, just quarters after quarters. This will make the tapping much more gentle on the parts, because as you can see, it's not printed in the right direction to be tapped correctly. It can break. If it breaks, that's not a big deal, because that's just a guiding plot. If it breaks, you just set the screw in that part and then slide this part on the screw, like screw it in with your fingers or something, and as long as it's on there, it will work perfectly fine. So once you've done that, you can set it in place. Don't fasten this screw too much. It doesn't need to be fastened a lot, because it's just there to keep the spring in place. So here you can see, I hope so, you can see that the screw is just there to keep the spring in place. So once the screw hits the top of the plot here, you don't need to screw anymore, because it's there, the spring won't fiddle around, so it's all good like that. Once this is done, you can put your handle back into the blaster, and you'll just have to take your cylinder, take your plate, put it in there like so. Don't forget the axis. You set it in like so. You take this part, just put it on there, screw it in. This cylinder is in place now. Then you can take, if you want, this is actually not obligatory. You can do this mod without printing this part. This is just a Canon because I think it looks better, and I guess you will as well. You just set it in there. Don't mind that. This should be screwed down so it doesn't do that. So you can just set the Canon in there, and the back of the Canon, this side here, goes inside the flywheel cage like that. It sets in, it's just the right size. So once you put your flywheel cage back down, it will be centered and look great. I have had an idea in the back of my head to make a rifled barrel, like with a little rifling inside, kind of like a Walker, I think it's Walker, a Scar barrel, but really gentle on the dart, not squishing it or anything, or maybe just like at the end or at the start, just a little section. I don't know. I will think about this, but I think it could be a great idea. So you would have either a smooth bore or a rifled bore. Could be interesting. Fairly easy to swap as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There it is, the full kit. So I hope I didn't ramble on too much. I hope it was clear. If you want any help or informations, you can send me a direct message on Reddit, because that's where I'm the most active, either on Steam Pepto-Bismol in one word, or on Steampuke. These are my two Reddit accounts, Steam Pepto-Bismol being my dedicated Nerf account. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, anything I could improve, just give me a heads up, and we'll discuss about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope it was clear, and see you next time for my next mod, I guess. I hope so. See ya!